This is the spies came back. Now we had mentioned yesterday they came back on the top of page 802. And before anything, first of all, I want to thank anybody who donated money for the Ohr Somayach drive. Apparently, people gave in money to the what is anybody who did respond to the Ohr Somayach fundraising drive. So first of all, thank you very much. Second of all, the White Sox are doing way too much winning right now, so I'm going to have to give them a gajang, which is a Kaplan, the ultimate Kaplan whammy. The White Sox have to start losing, so we're going to give them a gajang right now. Gajang, gajang, gajang. Now this should have an effect, right? And this should have an effect. I can't do anything about getting the Cubs to win, but I could get the White Sox to lose. It's never failed, by the way. You're going to see instant results. If anybody has some friends, anybody has problems with people, come see me. We don't charge a lot. Just to make sure, gajang, gajang, gajang. Have kavana, everybody. And by the way, a communal gajang works better. So everybody together, please. 1, 2, 3. Gajang, gajang, gajang. Okay, that should take care of the White Sox good and proper. Now, you see that on page 802, we said yesterday the word top line, efes ki aza'am. The Meraglim come back and they say it's impossible. Efes means it's impossible, and that one word is going to cost them. Now, the Musar lesson over here is that for one word in life, sometimes there was a broadcaster in England, a television broadcaster, who at one point he said the Queen is boring, and for that one word. He was in the middle of what I said about the Queen. Well, Frank, it sounds like, well, frankly, the Queen is boring. Something like that. For that one word, he lost his job. So one word could cost you. One word is in South Africa, there was a guy getting on a plane, and the guy, this is shortly after 9/11, and the security guy asked him what he's got in his bag. He said, I got a bomb, like that, which the prison, I don't know what the result was, but he was facing 5 to 25 years in prison for that one joke. So sometimes sometimes a person has to have a little better. So this one word ends up costing them a tremendous amount. We'll see.
So it's Tehillim, not Tilim, right?
Tilim is, you're right. That's when they were shooting missiles, they used to say Tehillim neged the Tehillim neged. But at the end of the day, that's the one word. Now look at the next thing they say. Ki efes ki azam hayoshev b'aretz v'arim b'tzoros gedos v'od v'gam yelidei ha'anak reinu sham. And we see the giants are over there. Number 1. Then Amalek yoshev be'eretz hanegev. The Amalekites are in the south. And this is even because they're not even in the country. They're just in the south. And they purposely call Amalek into place because they've already had an encounter with Amalek. And this right there should spook them. In other words, before we even get into the land, we got to get through Amalek. Ve'achiti ve'yavusi ve'amori yoshev bahar. These other nations, ve'aknani yoshev alayam ve'al yara yarden. Now, these people are all standing on the borders of Eretz Yisrael. If you do that, we're going to have to turn on the air conditioning. So you guys are going to have to make that choice right now, right? Because you can't have both. You can't be windows closed and no air conditioning. Otherwise we'll pass out. So now the Vayahas Kalev esa'am el Moshe. Kalev sentences the people to Moshe, and Rashi brings down the Medrash over here. That Kalev, he sentences the people to Moshe, meaning he said, is that all Moshe did? So at the point that Moshe Rabbeinu, when he says that, everybody's anticipating something negative. Because already the mood of the people has gotten negative. So Kalev goes, Vayaz Kalev Elam, is that all that Moshe has done? And everybody said, well, it's here. Oh, good, Kalev's going to also give us something now. Vayomer Olo Nale. He says, no, we'll go up. V'yarashnu osa, we will take over land. Ki yachol nuchala. Kalev switches the entire. What do you call it? Kalev tries to switch the mood. Now you have to understand over here. First question is, why does Kalev speak up and not Yoshua? That's the first question. Why is Kalev the one speaking and not Yoshua?
Yeshua's favorite, right?
What's obvious?
Yeshua was favorite.
Yeshua's Moshe's favorite.
Everybody would expect Yeshua to stand up for Moshe.
What's that?
Everybody would expect
So why doesn't he? Why doesn't Yeshua stand up for Moshe?
because it
Yeah,
wouldn't have
please. Yeah, hit the button. Thank you.
It wouldn't have the same sting.
Thank you. He wouldn't have the same sting. Why?
As soon as he starts talking, they
Why can't Yeshua talk? Because remember what the prophecy was. It always goes back to that prophecy. We're not talking about Harry Potter now. We're talking about the prophecy of Eldad and Medad. What did they say? Moshe's going to die and Yeshua's going to lead them into the land of Israel. So if Yeshua says, yeah, we could go into the land. Oh, sure you want to go into Israel because you want to be the leader. So Yeshua looks like he's got some sort of, he's got a vested interest. So Yeshua can't talk. Now look what Kalev does. Who's Kalev married to, gentlemen? Kalev's married to Miriam. Remember when it says at the golden calf, somebody died at the golden calf. Who died? Who was killed at the golden calf? Hur died. Who was Hur's mother? Miriam. Hur is Miriam's son. That's what it says when they went up to the mountain. When they fought Amalek the first time, Moshe, Aaron, and Hur went up to the mountain, and they were holding his hands, and it says that Moshe, what do you call it? It says that Rashi says right there, Hur, the son of Miriam. Now, assuming that Hur is the son of Kalev, if there are different opinions whether there was a first marriage, a second marriage, assuming Kalev is the father because he's married to Miriam, and Hur is his son, so Kalev has already seen his son get killed when he's faced down the people. So now imagine what it takes for Kalev to get up now and face down the people who are not in a good mood. So Kalev gets, and he's also Moshe Rabbeinu's brother-in-law. So there may be accusations of nepotism. And in spite of that, Kalev, who I told you yesterday, is brazenness. This takes a tremendous amount of brazenness to go and fight down the people right now. So what Kalev is doing over there at this point. So first he silences the people because they're all upset. He says, oh, is that all Moshe did? Now take a look at Rashi. Look how Kalev did it. It's the right column, 5 lines from the top. El Moshe. Lishma Mashi Adaber b'Moshe. Right column on page 802, 5 lines from the top. To hear what he would say about Moshe. Tzavach ve'omar. He yelled. V'chizu bilvad asalanu ben Amram. Is that all that Ben Amram has done? Hashomea hayasavur. Who anybody heard, figured, Shebal Saper Bignuso. Whoever heard Paul Kalev speaking, they figured Kalev's going to say something negative. Umitoch Shehaya Belibam al Moshe, and because they were upset with Moshe, Bishul Divrei Meraglim, Shasku Kulam Lishmoa Genuso. Everybody else got quiet to hear what kind of disparaging remarks he's going to make. Omar, Vehalo Kara Lanu Esayam. He split the sea for us. V'horid lanu es haman, he brought down the man. V'higiz lanu es haslav. So to the contrary, Olo nala, we will go up. Afilu b'shamayim, even if we had to go up to heaven. V'huomer asusu lamos v'olosha, make ladders and go up. Natzliach b'chol dvar, we'll succeed in whatever Moshe Rabbeinu tells us. So Kalev changes the entire direction over here. Now you'll notice that up until this point, the Meraglim have not said we can't go into the land. All they've said is that it's a strong place, it's got weird fruit, and everything about it, it's got weird mutant fruit, and the people are strong. They haven't said openly we can't. Now, V'ha'anoshim asher alu imo amru, Lo nuchal lalos. Now they come back and they say, we can't go in. They say, we can't go into the land. Now they say it openly. El ha'am, ki chazak hu mimenu. Now this word mimenu could be understood 2 ways. I'm 8 lines from the top. Ki chazak hu mimenu could be understood 2 ways. Mimenu could be in the plural, from us. In Hebrew. Hebrew's a strange language. Not strange, but strange. Mimenu could be from us, or mimenu could also mean from him, singular. Ki chazak hu mimenu. They're stronger than us, plural, or it could also mean they're stronger than him. Who's the him? According to the Gemara, the him refers to the Ribbono Shalom. They're saying they're stronger. Over here it's absolute kfira. It's absolute blasphemy. They're saying that the nation is even stronger than God. That's what the Gemara says. They said something very big over here. They said a big thing over here. They said ki chazaku mimenu. They're stronger than even him. Vayotziu dibasa oretz asher torosa. Now here's the main point I want to get to today. Vayotziu dibasa oretz asher torosa b'nei Yisrael lemor. They spread the negative report, and they said, ha'aretz asher avarnu v'lasurosa, the land that we passed through, eretz ocheles yoshvehi. It's a land that consumes its dwellers. V'chol ha'am asher ra'inu b'socha, all the people that we saw in the land, anshe midos. They are people of midos. Now the word midos, let's understand this pasuk. We have to really spend some time on this pasuk here. So again, let's just read it inside again. Vayotziu diba pasuk lamed beis. Vayotziu diba sa'aretz asher toros el b'nei Yisrael. They spread a bad report. Ha'aretz asher avarnu va, the land we passed in. Losur osa, to check it out. Eretz ocheles yoshvei. It's a land that consumes its inhabitants. V'chola am asher ra'inu b'socha anshe midos. And everybody that we saw in the land, they're anshe midos. Now, what that means is like this. First thing is, it's a land that consumes its inhabitants. So there's a famous medrash that Rashi brings down. Everywhere they went, they saw funerals. Everywhere they went, they saw funerals. And that's one of the ways that the spies were not noticed. I mean, you got to put this in the proper perspective, gentlemen. You got 12 frum Jews are wandering through your land. Now, how do you not notice them? You got 12 guys with streimels, beards, payas, and every once in a while they're stopping for a minyan. Mincha, we need let's stop in mincha. Hey, shmei, rabbi. How do you not notice them? Then they have their daf yomi shir, and they got a daf mar. They had 40 days. They're wandering around. You didn't notice a group of 12 Jews wandering around. You ever see them in the airport? Ever not see them in the airport? How can you not notice them? So what did Hashem do to distract the people? He had them. There were funerals everywhere they went. There were funerals. They're gathering together. People were dying. There were funerals. Now. You come back and bring her. I mean, what would your reaction be if you're going to check out a certain? You're not sure if you should go live. Let's see if we should go live in Afghanistan. So you go into Afghanistan, and everywhere you go, you see funerals. So what are you going to do? Oh, this is a great place to raise the kids. I mean, who would want to do that? Why would you do that? Let's go into the land of Israel. There are funerals all over the place. So why are they blamed? They said it's a land that consumes its inhabitants. People are dying all over the place. So what? What would you do with that information? If that was the data, what would you do? I would report this is a killer. There's something wrong with the air over here, and it's obviously something wrong with the air because it's producing this mutant fruit. Fruit must have gotten caught in radiation. I once saw a movie, The Empire of the Ants. You never saw it. It didn't make it. Don't worry. Empire of the Ants. Of course, the ants get caught in radiation and they become real big, and then they walk around eating people. And they shows you from the camera the ants have, I think, 16 lenses on their eyes. So they look at each person, he looks like 16, and then they eat him. Right? So Empire. It was a double feature. It was Empire of the Ants and The Incredible Melting Man, which was a guy who got caught in radiation and he became small. And we only lasted 10 minutes in a second. Let's get out of here, Mike. I can't take any more of this. It was also a radiation movie. So it's a mutant, some sort of mutants over here. The fruits are weird. People are dying. So what's it their fault? What did they do wrong?
The level that they're on, so they don't know that it's them.
Good. Their data can be interpreted two ways. The Stipler says there are two ways to read this. What are you coming back? You're telling us that the land is it's a plague land. There's plague all over the place. Well, in the time of Christian Europe, in the bubonic plague, did they have mass funerals? Did they have individual funerals where people came out to the funerals? No. What did they do? They got somebody went out, gathered bodies, put them in a wheelbarrow, and dumped them into a communal grave. That's what they did. When there's plague, there are no funerals. So if you see that there are funerals and people are going in, that you should realize this is a one-off. You should realize that this is being done by a Kodesh Baruch Hu to distract them, number one. Number two, if the air is contaminated and people are dying, what would you expect the produce to look like? I certainly wouldn't expect it to look like this big luscious figs and pomegranates and grapes. I was expecting it to look like infested rotten produce if the air is no good. So the evidence is there and it's available for you. The data could have been interpreted differently. Why are you interpreting it negatively? That's the problem. Because that's what you want it to do. You want it to interpret it negatively. You're looking for a negative interpretation. And therefore, the first thing is, it's an Eretz Ochelas Yoshveha. Why did you come back with that interpretation? You could have read it differently and realized that Kodesh Baruch Hu is doing you a favor and distracting everybody by creating funerals. Take Chumashim, guys. There should be plenty on the shelf over there. Take one. You got one. Okay, we're on page 802. That's number one. Page 802, Pasuk Lamed Beis, right in the middle of the page. Number one. Number two, there's a deeper meaning here. What's a Yoshev? What's somebody who's Yoshev? What does Yoshev mean? Somebody who sits. Somebody who's stationary. Eretz Yisrael is an Eretz Ochelas Yoshveha. We weren't put here to be stationary. We're put here to grow. We're put here to improve. We're put here to move. Our job as Jews is not to sit in one place. Our job as Jews is to grow and improve. That's an Eretz Ochelas. If a person comes here and you expect to just sit and be and just live without movement as a Jew, then Eretz Yisrael is not for us. Life is not for us. Our whole life is about growth. There are two types of Jews. I told you this many times. There are two types of Jews. It makes no difference what color your hat is or what color your jacket. It makes no difference what color your clothing is, as long as it's black. It makes no difference what color your clothing is. It makes no difference. Are you a Jew who's growing or you're a Jew who's stagnating? If you're stagnating, you're a Yoshev. You're sitting. It's an Eretz Ochelas Yisrael. Israel rejects people who are stagnating. Israel is for growth. Rav Dessler says, people ask, is it mandatory or is it a mitzvah or is it a good idea to live in Israel? Is it a good idea? What? Can't hear you. All of the above. All of the above. Well, sometimes. The answer is, if it's good for your growth, it's good for you to live in Israel. If a person is going to grow better by living in St. Louis because he has a better job and he has better learning opportunities and a better shul and better shalom bayis and better educational facilities for his children, then that's better for him. Eretz Yisrael is not to live in Israel is not an ends in and of itself. To live in Israel is a means to an ends. The ends is always growth. The ends is always growing as Torah Jews. Eretz Yisrael is not a means to an end. I think I told you I was in Columbus, Ohio. My wife's from Columbus, not my fault. That's where she's from. And I was in Columbus, and I had to buy glasses. So I had to this is years ago, we're going back about 25, 30 years ago, maybe even more. I had to fill out a form. Where we're from, we were visiting. We were living in Israel. We were visiting at the time. So the young lady behind the counter was obviously not Jewish. And she takes a look at this form. She's reading it with her eyes. And at a certain point she goes, Jerusalem. You live in Jerusalem. Is it fun to live in Jerusalem? Now, gentlemen, I want to tell you, it takes a lot to get me speechless. And I was speechless. Is it fun to live in Jerusalem? Now, my wife and I took certain factors into consideration before deciding to live here. learning, raising children, education. There are a lot of factors. Never once did my wife and I look at each other and say, and it's really fun to live in Jerusalem. Now, we have our moments here, which are really amusing and entertaining, like when a bus drives up on the sidewalk and honks you out of the way. Now, that's fun. Or when you go into a government office and the lady behind the counter drips tchina from her falafel onto your documents. That's fun. The fun quotient, is it fun to live in Israel? Fun? Life isn't meant to be. We have our moments over there. Like I enjoy Cholt as much as the next guy. Is it fun? Is Shabbos fun? Did we have fun? Fun means pulling a chair out from under a teacher when he falls. That's fun, right? Fun is an amusement park. That's fun. Fun, life is Gemara learning fun. Let's have some fun. Rava and Abaye, my favorite with Reish Lakish. That's my favorite. What's fun? I don't know. Fun. Do you know there's no word in Lashon HaKodesh for fun? There is no word in the Gemara for fun. How do you like that? There's laughter. There's joy. There's no word for fun. In modern Hebrew, there's a pathetic word, kef. Eze kef. Eze kef. Right? In modern Hebrew, it's called a kef. Eze kef. I ate bisli. Eze kef. Right? Bisli. Kef. Right? There's no word for fun because life's not about fun. Life is about growth. And that's Eretz Ocheles Yoshveh. Now, watch the end of the pasuk. So it says, we saw the people there. Again, I'm on 10 lines from the top, on 802. Eretz Ocheles Yoshvehi, it's a land that consumes its inhabitants. V'chol ha'am asher ra'inu besocha anshe midos. Now, what is a midah in Hebrew? What is a midah? What does the word midah mean?
Level.
What?
Level.
Trait?
We use it as traits. You're right. We have to work on your midos. I just had a friend the other day. I saw he was taking out the garbage. A guy in my neighborhood. I said, "How you doing?" I said, "What are you doing?" He says, "I'm working on my midos." So I told him, "You got it wrong. You got it wrong. You don't work on your midos. Other people work on your midos." You don't work on your midos. You respond to other people working on your midos. But we are meant to work. Why is it called midos? But why is midos? When we say you gotta, you're getting angry, you got to work on your midos. You're impatient, you got to work on your midos. Why is that called midos? Why is it called? Well, why didn't you just call it character? Why is it called midos?
Measure?
Why is it called a measure? Why is you're developing your personality, your character traits, your self-control in many cases? Why is that called midos, which means measure? What's that?
Like a temper
Could be.
on glass, like how much weight before it cracks, or like a...
Getting closer.
Okay. Tolerance.
Because there are certain times where a person has to be selfish. You have to be concerned for yourself. There's certain times where you have to show some anger if your kids are doing something dangerous. There are certain times where a person has to have a certain amount of self-respect, not to be haughty, but you have to have some self-dignity. And it's got to be measured out. It's got to be done in measure. There's a precise measure. You have to be generous, but up to a certain point, because you can't give away all your stuff, because then you yourself become poor. The development of character perfection is midos, and it's also done in increments. You got to like Elisha said, build it up. Don't jump too far. Don't be a tzaddik overnight. Overnight tzaddikim do not last long. You got to build it up. You got to go from one level to another. Number one. So what are they saying over here? They're saying, you know what? People are dying all over the place. And they're people of midos. That means they're people who they're working on themselves, which is a big chutzpah, because the nations in the land of Canaan were the biggest hedonists and perverts in history. And they were despicable people. They were involved in every form of inappropriate behavior. And then you go and you say they're anshe midos. They're just wonderful people. They're working on themselves. So if they're dying, you can't blame the people that they're not getting punished by God. It must be the land is inherently contaminated. This is a way of discouraging the Jewish people. Number one. Number two, anshe midos is a way of describing a giant. If a tall person walks into the room You know, this happens all the time. A guy who's about 7 feet tall walks into the room. Everybody in the room looks at the guy and thinking, boy, I wonder what that is. Oh, that's 6'10"? No, that looks like 7'1" over there. Everybody, when a really tall person walks in, people ascribe, try to guess. I wonder, boy, that's tall. When I walk into a room, there aren't too many people sitting there like, oh wow, we got a solid 5'8" over there. No, that's a 5'8.5" for sure. No, that's 5'7". Nobody's speculating on my height. They may be talking about how handsome I am, but nobody's speculating about my height. Listen, we can hope. You can only hope. No, nobody. Anshe midos means, right? Something got to have some of the redeeming quality. Anshe midos means somebody walks into the room and they're tall, and all of a sudden everybody. I had a guy in my shul for years. He left the neighborhood. A guy in my shul for years. A guy was tallest frum Jew that I know, and for years I've been looking at him. I've even tried to see him when he's standing in shul against the wall so I could go home and get a tape measure and measure to that spot on the wall. I never did it. But I really was dying to, how tall this guy, he was clearly in the 7-foot range. And in shul, you'd see the guy, listen, we had the benefit that we could always, any light bulbs needed to be changed in the shul, it was always, he was the guy. Right? He didn't even have to stand on a chair. He just kind of reached up. So the Torah is saying, they're anshe midos, the kind of giants there are, and just look at the fruit. If you see what the fruit is, you can imagine what the people are. They're anshe midos. These are giants. We're finished, guys. That's what they're trying to say. Then he says, "V'shamra inu es hanephilim b'nei anak." We saw the Nephilim is a certain nation. Pasuk Lamed Gimel. B'nei anak min hanephilim. Now watch this next phrase. Vanehi be'einenu kechagavim. We were in our own eyes like grasshoppers. V'chein hayinu be'eineihem. And that's how we were in their eyes. We were like grasshoppers in our eyes, and we were grasshoppers in their eyes. Did you, Shlomo, do you remember the TV show Kung Fu?
Oh yeah.
Grasshopper.
Pebble.
It's that's about right. There you go. So we were like grasshoppers in our eyes, and that's how we were in their eyes. Now, why? First, two questions here. First of all, how do you know the fact that we felt like grasshoppers means what?
Small.
Yeah, we're little, and we're looking up at them, and we feel like grasshoppers. Number one. Number two, why does it say, and so we were in their eyes? Well, how do you know how they were looking at you?
They take a survey?
Yeah, hi guys, what do you think of us? Grasshopper. How do you know what they thought of you?
Snatch the crate.
So first I'll tell you a pretty strange medrash. I'll tell you the regular shot is, they're saying they heard them. They say, hey, there are grasshoppers in the vineyard over there looking down at people. They're looking down at us, and they say, they're so big, they look at us and say, there's some grasshoppers running around there. Some black grasshoppers with the shtreimel and the payas and the what do you call it, they're all dressed like Hasidim, and there they are, some grasshoppers down there. But what the Torah is telling you is how you feel about yourself. If you feel like you're a grasshopper, then you're a grasshopper. I mean, sometimes don't they tell you if you're ever interviewing for a job, I'm sure they must have professional training, how you're supposed to go in when you interview for a job. You're not supposed to feel don't be too contrite, because they want to see some confidence, right? Doesn't somebody hiring you want to see some confidence? On the other hand, what don't they want to see? They don't want to see cockiness. There's a balance between feeling like you're a grasshopper and feeling like you're a superstar. And sometimes when you walk in for an interview, how are you? I don't know. They must have training about how you're supposed to sit for an interview.
Oh yeah.
Body
language,
eye
contact, everything.
Everything. So you don't sit like this, right? You don't do any of that, and you don't sit like this, and you also don't sit like that. You don't look over anxious, right? They must have some sort of, put your hands on the table, just kind of be very poised, that sort of thing. But this is a rule in life. If you feel yourself as a grasshopper, that's how people are going to treat you. That means there's a difference between being humble and projecting nothingness. We're not meant to do that. We're meant to be, there's supposed to be a certain amount of poise. The word is poise. If you look at the entire section between Eliezer and Rivka, when he picks Rivka as a wife for Yitzchak, you'll see that Rivka, the thing that comes through more than anything, is a certain poise. She's not vivacious, which I told you is synonymous with being, what they call vivacious, we call unsneous. She's not too forward, but she maintains, here comes this strange man comes running at her, and she's very poised. Would you like a drink, sir? Would you without being, she just poised. So there's a medrash that says that one of the little girls in Eretz Yisrael was such a giant, and they were giants. They were giants. One of the girls, she was a young girl, and she was eating a pomegranate peel. She was eating a pomegranate. And she took this pomegranate peel, and she threw it into the field. And they climbed in, the 12 of them climbed into this pomegranate peel thinking it was a cave. That's what the Medrash says. And then she decided, I better pick it up before my father sees I threw it. And so she picked it up, look at the grasshoppers. And she tossed it somewhere else. And that's how they knew that they thought they were grasshoppers. That's what the Medrash says. And so we're talking about, and again, the Medrash is telling you, it could be their perception, it could be literal. Whatever the case is, they're spooked. Now look what happens. Vatisa kola Ada. This is a life lesson, gentlemen. Vatisa kola Ada. What pasuk are we on? 1 second.
Lamed Gimel.
Lamed Gimel. Yeah, thank you. Where is this? Lamed.
Vatisa is Aleph.
Yeah. Just 1 second. Alicia, you're ahead of me. Yeah. Vatisa kola Ada. No. Okay. Pasuk Yudal, Perik Yudal, Pasuk Aleph. 9 lines from the bottom. So now the Meraglim have spoken. The Meraglim have spooked the people properly. Vatisa kola Ada vayitnu es kolam. The people start crying. Vayivku ha'am balayla hahu. The people crying that night. Take a look at that pasuk again, gentlemen. Which word in the pasuk seems to be redundant? Vatisa kola Ada vayitnu es kolam vayivku ha'am balayla hahu.
The voice?
No, that's when they raise their voice and they cry. Like they're wailing. Ah! Which people? Which word, Hoodie?
The second, the people.
Right. Ha'am.
High assembly.
Vayivku ha'am balayla hahu. Because it says Vatisa kola Ada, the entire congregation. Vayitnu es kolam. They all start crying. Vayivku ha'am balayla. The people crying that night. Of course, who else are you talking about? It could have just said Vayivku balayla hahu. So what does that extra word ha'am refer to? So the Mefarshim say, what night was this? Tisha B'Av. And because they cried for no reason, did your father ever say to you, you want to cry? You want to cry? I'll give you something to cry about. Did your father ever say that? Huh?
When you get smacked.
Hey,
Like, what was that for? You'd be like, that was for nothing. Imagine when you get something.
But, right? There's always you want to kvetch? I'll give you something to kvetch about. So the people cried, and you had no reason to cry. So Hashem said, oh, you want to cry? I'll give you something to cry about. This night becomes a night of crying for the Jewish people throughout the ages. And that's what the second ha'am is referring to. It says, Vatisa kola Ada vayitnu es kolam. The people cry. Vayivku ha'am balaylahu. The people are going to cry on that night. That's going to be the night of crying.
Why would Hashem do that?
Why would Hashem do that? Because you remember, this whole thing is a chutzpah. I'm telling you it's a good land, and you're coming back and telling me it's a bad land. I've promised you to bring you into a good land. And you send these guys, and they come back. They're no good, and you're no good. I had that with my kids all the time when they would come fighting. I'd say, he hit me. Why'd you hit me? Because she called me a useless brat. And I said, well, you shouldn't have hit her. And you're wrong, too, for calling him a useless brat. right? Or if that was on a good day, right? You're wrong. Both could be wrong. You're both no good. I used to say to my kid all the time, you're both no good, right? When they fought, it wasn't too often that they came to me when they fought. Daddy, you're no good, and you're no good. You're both no good. You could both be wrong. You're no good for bringing back a bad report, and you're no good for listening to them. I told you it's a good land. What are you listening to them for? Hashem probably. There's a chutzpah.
Why punish the Jews for the rest of this?
It becomes an inherent night of crying. If the Jewish people, good, he's asking, so why should future generations be punished for this? If there's going to be a need to cry, this is going to be the night to cry. There was a need to destroy the first base of Mikdash because they were guilty of idol worship, immorality, and murder. When does that happen? On Tisha B'Av. There's a need to destroy the second base of Mikdash. When does that happen? On Tisha B'Av. There's a need for the Spanish Inquisition. When are the Jews expelled from Spain? On Tisha B'Av. There's a need for World War I to break out. When does it break out? On Tisha B'Av. That means if HaKadosh Baruch Hu decides that something's got to happen, that's the night of calamity. Do you know that during the 3 weeks between 17th of Tammuz and Tisha B'Av, the 17th of Tammuz, which is a fast day when the walls were breached, and Tisha B'Av, which is the time of the base of Mikdash, you know that during that 3-week period, if a Jew has litigation with a non-Jew, he should put it off. The mazel for the Jewish people is not good during that period. Put it off for around Purim time. Then things are good. What's for Purim?
Which period is that?
17th of Tammuz, what we call the 3 weeks. You don't swim. You don't listen to music. It's a mourning period till you get to the 9 days, and it intensifies. Do you know that a father's not supposed to spank his son during the 3 weeks? Because it could, might hit him, might injure him, because the mazel is down for the Jewish people. So the Jewish people, you could. It's the round one. Yeah, there you go. The mazel is down. You cried. You want to cry. I'm going to give you something to cry about. Again, you're asking a good question. It means that obviously if the Jewish people would have been tzaddikim, nothing would have happened. Mashiach is born on Tisha B'Av. How do you like that? That's what the Gemara says. Mashiach was born. What does that mean, Alicia? Mashiach is born. So every Tisha B'Av, we should go to various maternity wards in the hospital and just check out and let's see, let's track these guys.
See how big their nose is?
Got a big one over there. That might be him. You're laughing, except that the Gemara says that when the Romans were after Rabban Gamliel, the Romans he was the Nasi of the Jewish people. One of the Romans turned informant, and he said through code, Bal hachotem misbakesh. The man with the big nose is wanted. And that was a code for Rabban Gamliel. The big nose meaning the leader of the people. The nose kind of sticks out on the face. And that was how so like Rabbi Weinbach said, Jews often try to integrate into the non-Jewish society. And somehow they always figure out who he is. What's your name? What's your name? Johnson. No. What was your name before you changed it? Goldblum. They always snuff him out. And Rabbi Weinbach once said, there's an old saying, you could change your Moses, but you can't change your noses. They'll always pick out the Jews. So the Tisha B'Av, Mashiach is born. What does that mean? You're talking about happy birthday to. What does that mean? Oh, when you're born? You're born on Tisha B'Av. Guys, let's watch. Is anybody in this room born on Tisha B'Av? Keep your eyes on them. What does that mean? That means that Tisha B'Av, which is the time of the destruction of the base of Mikdash, is the point that we realize that something's wrong over here, and if there's something wrong, we really got to change our attitude. Changing our attitude and moving in the other direction, that brings about Mashiach. That's what it means. He's born on Tisha B'Av. It could mean literally. These things could always mean literal, but the literal does not interest us. It doesn't concern us as much as what are they trying to convey? because that could affect our behavior. And if Mashiach is born on Tisha B'Av, that means that there was the Beis Hamikdash was destroyed. If the Beis Hamikdash was destroyed, I heard once, by the way, there was a non-Jewish tourist who was at the Western Wall on Tisha B'Av. They saw everybody's on the ground, they're crying, they were saying the limit. They said, "What's going on?" So one of the from people, they said, "Well, we had a building that was here 2,000 years ago and it's been destroyed." And she goes, "Oh, they didn't have insurance?" It's a true story. True story. Then a rabbi of mine was at the Kosel once, and also a non-Jewish tourist said to him, "You're a rabbi, right?" And he goes, "Yeah." "Could I ask you a question?" He goes, "Yeah, sure." He goes, "Are there going to be sacrifices here today?" So without missing a beat, he said, "As of right now, no, but maybe later today. Maybe later today." How do you like that? All right. So the people cry. Now what happens? Vayilonu al Moshe val Aaron kol bnei Yisrael. They come to Moshe and Aaron. Vayomer aleim kol ha'eda lumasnu be'eretz Mitzrayim u'bamidbar hazeh lumaza. If only, look at Rashi. Red, this is just for you. Tell me, look at Rashi right over here on lumasnu. It's the left column, 2 lines from the bottom. Guys, all of you who are learning the Gemara right now, take a look at this Rashi. Left column, lumasnu, halavai umasnu. Right? What's halavai? What did Reish Lakish say in the Gemara about paying back loans early? Halavai, that people should pay back on time. Right? That's the word halavai. The people are saying, if only we would die in Egypt in the desert. V'lama Hashem mevi'osanu el eretz hazos. Why is Hashem bringing us to this land? Lin po b'acherev, to fall by the sword. Nafshenu v'tapenu yulavaz. They're going to take advantage of our women and our children. Halo tov lanu shuv Mitzrayim. Let's go back to Egypt. Yeah, friendly Egypt. It's just wonderful. Jews have very short memory. Egypt was just a party. Getting whipped and building hard labor. Let's go back to Egypt. Vayomru Isha, one more pasuk, gentlemen, before the next one.
Were the Levites part of
No,
all of this?
no.
They weren't.
They're not in the decree, and they don't die in the dead. They go into the.
They weren't part of the complaining either.
They are in the decree because only Yoshua and Caleb gone. That I don't know. It doesn't say.
Of course, they'd say take it back to Egypt.
It sounds like all the people were involved. Sounds like everybody was involved. Because they're all in the decree. The Levites are in the decree to die. They die. The only ones who aren't are Caleb and Yoshua. We'll see. Vayomru Isha lachiv. One man says to the other. Who do you think are the one man who says to the other?
Kalev said to Yoshua.
No, Dasan and Avira. They're always at the head of the party. Nitna Rosh v'nashuva Mitzrayim. Let's make a leader and we'll go back to Egypt. Now watch one more pasuk. Vayipol Moshe v'Aaron al pneihem. Moshe and Aaron fall forward on their faces. Lifnei kol kahal adasis b'nei Yisrael. V'Yoshua v'Nun v'Kalev ben Yefuna min haturim es haaretz karu bigdeihem. Moshe and Aaron fall on their faces. They're despondent. And Yoshua and Kalev, from those who went to the land, rend their garments. Why the difference in the response between Moshe and Aaron to this obvious calamity versus Yoshua and Kalev who rend their garments? Why is there a difference in the way they respond to it? And what has it got to do with the fact we know that they were among those who went to the land? So why does the Torah emphasize this?
I don't understand.
The question is, look at the pasuk again at the bottom of page 802. It says, Moshe and Aaron fall over on their faces. How's the arts go? They fell on their faces in front of the entire congregation. And the next pasuk says, Yoshua bin Nun and Kalev ben Yefune, min hatorim es haaretz, who were among those who had gone into the land, karu bigdeihem, they rent their garments. What's the difference between falling over on your face and rending your garments?
Falling on your face
Asking
is
for
like
mercy
you're
this
ashamed.
morning.
What?
Falling on your face is like you're ashamed. You don't want the people to see the leader.
Okay, what else is falling on the face?
Praying.
What?
Praying.
Davening. Falling on your face means you're davening, meaning if you're falling on your face, that means you feel there's still hope.
Yeah.
Rending your garments means what?
Morning.
Over.
Mourning. It's over. That means that there's a perception over here that Yoshua and Kalev seem to have an insight that Moshe and Aaron don't have. That they understand our fate is sealed. The fate, which is going to be that you're going to wander 40 years. Moshe and Aaron feel we can still daven to get things changed. Yoshua and Kalev are like, we're cooked. We're cooked. How could it be? I'm glad you're entertained at them being cooked. I'm glad you find that amusing. How could it be that Yoshua and Kalev, which is right, by the way, they are cooked. There's already. How could it be that Yoshua and Kalev have an insight that Moshe and Aaron don't have? And that the Torah answers you, because they had gone into the land of Israel. Min haTorah mesaretz. They were from among those who went into Eretz Yisrael. That booster that they got by going into Eretz Yisrael, breathing the air of Eretz Yisrael, at least temporarily put them on a higher level where they had a prophetic insight or some sort of insight that they had more inside information than Moshe and Aaron. That's what one of the commentaries says. The other Mefarshim say that Yoshua and Kalev were more despondent than Moshe and Aaron because they had been among those who went into the land and therefore felt it's our fault. We should have had better influence on the other 10 guys so this doesn't happen. And therefore, Yoshua, they're rending their garments that we share the blame over here. We should have had some sort of influence on these other guys. And for that, we're absolutely despondent. And therefore, the people are crying, Moshe's on his face, Yoshua and Kalev are rending their garments, and tomorrow we'll see what's going to happen to them. All right.